Okay, so we'll make a start. Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Lee Bennett. I'm one of the product specialists at Wolters Kluwer, and it's my pleasure to be hosting today's webinar. In today's session, I'll be covering how CCH software is integrated from the traditional on-premise CCH suite of products to CCH one-click. As stated on the previous slide, this webinar will last around an hour, and there will be time at the end to run through some of the questions. So feel free to ask away through the GoToWebinar meeting panel, and if we run out of time, we will answer any questions separately. Also, just to make you aware, the session, just to make it as interactive as possible, I will be asking some questions as we go through, so please answer them if you can. So what can you expect over the next hour? Well, I've broken down this webinar into bite-sized topics, each one focusing on a different aspect of your daily process. What they all have in common is that they all use CCH one-click and CCH Central in tandem. Now, before I go any further, I am going to start with question number one. It's a simple question, just to gauge who we have with us today, and also to give you a bit of practice on answering the questions. So I'm just going to launch question number one, which is quite simply, have you seen or heard about CCH one-click previously? For each of the questions that I ask, I'll probably give maybe 20, 30 seconds or so for you to answer. I'll close the poll and then I'll share the answers with yourselves as well. Okay, I'm just going to close the poll and share the results. So what we've got, so the majority have either seen or heard of CCH one-click before. Only 15% haven't heard of it, which I think is quite positive for us. Okay, thank you for that. So just to explain what one-click actually is, CCH one-click is a set of tools built in the cloud to complement our existing on-premise suite, CCH Central. It consists of two workspaces, the advisor workspace and the client workspace, each one accessed by a username and a password to identify who the user is. Each workspace delivers functionality which works with CCH Central to enable your practice and your clients to work in a more efficient manner, more collaboratively, and to enable the flow of digital data from third parties through to the end product, whether that's producing the accounts or the tax return or something to do with making tax digital, which we'll be looking at a little bit later on, or secure exchange of documents and messages. And it's these aspects that I'll be focusing on today. So the first topic is the age-old challenge of collecting the data from your clients in the first place, whether it's collecting the data on time or actually the completeness of data you eventually get. You've probably all had clients at the very last minute, and probably a week or so ago, the end of the tax return season, suddenly appear with that vital piece of information. But what if there was a better way to collect this information? We've got a number of tools available to you, so I'm going to take you through and show you three of those at the moment. So the first one is something that we have called Open Integration. Now on the screen at the moment, you'll see CCH Central. For those of you that are existing clients of Wolters Kluwer, this will be very familiar to you. You'll notice at the top of my screen on my ribbon bar, under the Cloud group, we have shortcuts allowing me to directly access CCH one-click from within Central. And the first thing it's going to do is ask me to identify myself. So I'm going to enter in my username and password. And when I log in, the system's going to show me my dashboard. Now, in much the same way that CCH Central has the functionality of having home pages, and you can tailor them to your own requirements. In a similar way, we have the concept of dashboards within OneClick, and again, you can customize those, you can change the tiles, you can add tiles to the dashboard depending on obviously what your role is within the practice. The first area that we're going to be looking at today is open integration. So just to explain what open integration is, it's a project and obviously part of OneClick that we started probably 2 or 3 years ago with the intention of integrating our systems with other third-party bookkeeping products. And this is where you go to set up the initial connection between OneClick and the likes of Xero or QuickBooks or Sage and others are available. It's normally a one-time only operation, so I'm just going to show you an example of one of my clients that's already been connected. So when I click on the tile, it's going to take me to a little dashboard. It's going to show me how many businesses I've got within OneClick at the moment, how many have been connected to OneClick. It does a bit of analysis as to the turnover of that particular client and the open integration status, how many have been successfully synced across. What I'm going to go and do is find my client, which is going to be Jack Smith. And first of all, I'm going to take you to the status tab. The status tab will allow me to see the fact that the synchronization has been successful. Now, the synchronization happens automatically every 24 hours, or it can happen on demand. It's completely down to you whether or not you need the data as of right now, or whether the last sync, the overnight sync, is I suppose good enough for your requirements. You can have a look at all of the data that comes across. So the data screen that I'm in at the moment are the exact transactions that appear at the moment within Xero. You can change the date range to see obviously more or less of those transactions. And I'm just going to mention the mapping screen as it appears on the screen at the moment. This is more to do with making tax digital for income tax. Obviously that's been pushed back now, but we have built the ability to produce your quarterly reporting directly from your client's bookkeeping data and then submit it over to HMRC. And I'm going to end up where we started with the setup screen. I didn't really talk about this too much, but this is where you would initially create the sync between our system and Xero. And you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, there is a sync button which will allow you to literally do that sync on demand. As I said, it will do an automatic sync every 24 hours. So that's all I'm going to show you at the moment with open integration. That's kind of the collection of the data. It is automatic. You as a user don't really need to do anything more with it. The other area that I'm going to focus on at the moment is accessing your client's digital tax account to gather the information directly from HMRC. So clicked into the DTA tile. Again, we get a dashboard showing how many clients we've connected, again with open integration and MTD, and again some stats over there on the right hand side. This time, if I go to, in fact I'm going to use the same client, so go and do a search. These clients, by the way, they're automatically populated into OneClick by CCH Central, so again there's nothing that you need to do. There's no new client setup that you need to do. It will just transfer the information for you. Go back into Jack Smith, and again you'll see a number of different tabs effectively on this particular page. I'm not going to go through all of them that you can see at the moment. I'm going to focus on the one that we're on, the digital tax account. And you'll see that we've got data in there for 2015, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, and obviously as time goes by, 18, 19, etc., etc. Now, if I just click on my tax year, the system will start to load up the data. This is where it's directly accessing HMRC's records to show me what HMRC currently knows about our clients. So through the use of their APIs that they've granted access to for us, we can see that we've got some employment information and some benefit information around that particular client. Marriage allowance, if they're eligible to receive marriage allowance, that will be populated as well. national insurance contributions and pension information, state benefits, that kind of information. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can actually approach the use of this particular screen. You'll see over on the right-hand side that we do have a panel which is now connected directly into this client's personal tax return within CCH personal tax, and it will show you what's currently been processed or what's currently been posted on their data entry screens on their tax return. So you can do a bit of a compare and contrast. You can then say, well, this piece of information is missing, for example, I want to use it in the tax return. So we can just tick the box and have that populated over into personal tax. But you'll also notice over on the left-hand side, we've got a few toggle switches on the screen, which allow you to effectively tick all the boxes in that particular section. So just in the employment section, as you can see at the moment, those crosses have now turned to ticks. Or we can do the whole of the tax return in one go, or all of the sections that you can see at the moment all in one go. So again, nothing really for you guys to do manually. The system will just go and extract that data from HMRC. You can then compare it with personal tax. And I am actually going to take this a step further now. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen that we do have the send to tax return button. You could also export the data that currently appears on the screen to a PDF, whether you want to file that or whether you want to share that with your client. Obviously, you're free to do so. But in my case, I am just going to send it directly to the tax return. So it's going to be accessing Central, going into personal tax and populating the tax return. Data was successfully sent into personal tax. We may have a little look at personal tax, obviously, to see the fact that the data is there now. So that's the DTA. As I said, nice and quick and simple. There's nothing for you guys to do. It will just collect the data on your client's behalf, on your behalf. The next topic is actually the digital info request app that we have. Now I've got a couple of screenshots to show you this. So this screen, the idea of this is that you can send a tax return information request, but now digitally. Kind of historically, you may have sent what we would call an aide memoire. Previously in personal tax, we then kind of changed it when we integrated it into Central's mail merge facility to be the tax return information request. We've now gone one step further to actually produce an app that your clients can download. You would request the information from the app. It would show them the sources of income from last year's tax return and then prompt them to either enter the information relevant for this year or confirm the data. You'll see actually on this particular screenshot, the two figures that we have there, the 8650 and the 22499, they've got a little crown, and that tells your client, and obviously tells us, tells you, that that information again is part of the DTA that's come from HMRC themselves. Your client can scan, they can attach files. So if they wanted to upload, in this case, it's something like a P60, or obviously dividend vouchers, P11Ds, all of that nature, they can do. Now, we actually launched the digital request app last year. And this year, what we're doing is producing a web-based equivalent of it, again, accessible through OneClick itself, which may be for some of your clients may be handier if they've got the electronic files already on their PC, on their laptop. Obviously, it will give them maybe a quick and easy way to attach an existing file. And you may find clients use them in combination. They could scan the information using the phone or other mobile device and attach files on their web browser to any of the files. Effectively, it's going to work in the same way as the DTA screen that I've just shown you. You would review the information internally within your version of OneClick and then use that to populate out into the tax return. Okay, so time for question number 2 for you. I'm just going to launch the poll. So thinking about what we've just seen with the automated collection of data using either or any of these tools help you or your practice. You can actually select more than one answer. Again, I give about 20, 30 seconds or so to allow most people to vote. There's still some people who haven't voted yet, I can tell. Okay, I think I'll close the poll there. I think the majority of you have voted. Let's have a look at those results. So a fair split, really. 80% open integration, 76% digital tax account, 68% the data request app. So that's really positive, quite encouraging. I think that you and maybe your clients are looking to use obviously the digital information that's available now to speed up processes and get the information quicker to you. It's great stuff. Okay, so we're going to look how we can use the data now. We've kind of already seen one of them, the population of the tax return directly from the DTA screen. I'm going to go into a bit more detail about how we can use the open integration data. And obviously, once it's in accounts production, you can then take it across into either personal tax or corporation tax, depending on which ones you use, hopefully both. So let's close out some of these. So in Central, again, hopefully this will be fairly familiar to the majority of you on the line today. So from my home page, I can see I've got something to do for Jack Smith. So I'm just going to click on the hyperlink to open up his client record. And straight away, I'm going to go to accounts production. Now, for this particular client, I've only set up the one accounting period. Obviously, that list will grow as we start to do roll forwards. But intentionally, I've just had the one accounting period in there. And as soon as I double click into accounts production, it will go away and have a look to see how many transactions that are waiting in open integration that haven't yet come through into accounts production. And obviously, you can see straight away from my home page, I've got a completely blank trial balance. So I've got no transactions in there whatsoever. You'll see on the left-hand side, it does highlight for you. So there are transactions in there. There's 188 of them. And you'll also notice that we also show it down at the bottom of the screen in the errors and exceptions panel. Now, if I just click into sync with open integration, the first thing that we'll need to do is select a mapping. Obviously, the nominal codes, the chart of accounts that your client uses, whether that's in Xero or QuickBooks or Sage, possibly Twinfield, and the other one actually is Exact that we connect to in open integration. Their nominal chart, the chart of accounts, is going to be different from the one that we use in CCH. So if you've ever had to import TBs or transactions from one system to another, you'll know that you'll need to have a mapping in there. We do supply, as you can see, some standard ones for you to get started with. Obviously, you can make local adjustments to them. And the one I'm going to choose is Xero to an unincorporated for this particular client LB0001, which is the client that I'm in at the moment. And if I just select that and then click synchronize, the system will actually carry out 3 synchronizations. First of all, it will sync the chart of accounts. And if it finds any new accounts in Xero and it doesn't know what to do with them in accounts production, it will stop me and ask me to create or update that mapping for me. You'll see there it brings across those 188 transactions from open integration, but actually the synchronization is 2 ways. So it also looks for any transactions that are in accounts production that don't yet exist in open integration and therefore Xero. Obviously at the moment there are 0 of them, 0. If I go back to my home page, you'll see I do now have a pretty much full and complete trial balance. Not only does it give me obviously the details relating to the trial balance, it does drill down and it will produce me a list of all the transactions. So those 188 transactions are automatically obviously sorted into their nominal coding structure. So this is everything to do with sales or, by the looks of it, consulting work for this particular client. Now, inevitably, there are going to be some year-end adjustments that you would put through. You can put them through as a standard journal, I suppose, within accounts production, again, for those clients that are familiar with accounts production. You could also put them through as an audit adjusting journal. And these are actually good to be able to keep separate those transactions that we've imported or you've got from your clients, whether or not you use open integration, from the year-end transactions that you need to update to actually get to your year-end accounts. So this is, I suppose, what I would normally use, but it doesn't really matter. You can use normal journals as well if you want to. And I'm just going to do accruals. I'm only going to post one, to be honest, but this is my accountancy charge for the year, and that's going to be posted to accountancy. And you'll notice that I am actually typing the description of the nominal rather than remembering what the nominal code is. And you'll also see that we show what the current balance is for those nominals as well, which is really quite helpful to make sure that you are picking the correct nominal. In this case, obviously, there are 3 choices that I could go for. I'm going to pick the one that's in admin expenses. I'm just going to make it simple. I'm just going to do £1,000. And obviously do the other side of it as well. So that's going to go to accruals, £1,000, and I'm just going to post that and click OK. Now that has only updated accounts production. Now, actually, I'm not going to deviate too much away from this, but I just wanted to just click into where we've got view audit journals. One of the benefits of using audit journal tracking rather than just normal journals is the fact that you can toggle between unposted and posted. And the system does allow you to edit a transaction that has been already posted, or indeed unpost it itself. If you decide that that £1,000 doesn't really need to go through, you can unpost it. If it's less and it should be £2,000, obviously you can edit it rather than putting through another £1,000 to increase it. There are various reports. I'm not going to go into these at the moment, but there are various reports then to show you how that £1,000 has affected the transactions or the balances or the P&L really from what your client has brought in this case from the likes of Xero. So you can go back to them and say, you know, that £1 million that you said that you got in profit, but actually it's not, and these are the reasons why. These are the transactions we've had to put through. Now, if we go back to sync with open integration, I'm just going to sync back. So it will then take that one transaction, as you can see there, back into open integration. And from here, I've actually then got the choice of, do I immediately want that sync back up to Xero, in which case go back into one click, go into open integration and manually click the sync button, or is it okay for me to wait for the next automated sync round about midnight-ish every 24 hours, which is probably fine for me. And then go back to the home page and obviously carry on doing whatever you're doing from an accounts production point of view. Now, as I said, once you've got the data in accounts production, we can take that one step further. We can actually obviously start to process that within the tax return. So I'm just going to go to my tax returns tab. I'm actually going to go into 2019 now. I know obviously we haven't got there yet, but the transactions that we've processed are for the year end to December 2018, so they would fall into next year's tax return. So I am just going to show you this 2019. And as soon as we open it up, it was probably really quick on your screen. I don't know whether you noticed it at all, but there would have been a little loading button kind of appear on the screen to show you that it's taking the information. So you can set up the synchronization almost from accounts production into personal tax to be automated, or again, kind of on demand. In my case, I've got it automated, so the information from my self-employment will automatically update within the system. Now, because technically I haven't finalized the accounts from here, it will bring them across in this case as being estimated. Again, you can see that in errors and exceptions. So I'd probably need to do that again once I'm happy that the accounts have been properly finalized. But from a little what if type calculation, obviously the system will update the tax comp in real time for me. Okay, actually, I will just go into 2018 actually, just to show you the information that's come across from the DTA that I showed you earlier. When we clicked the button, the information came across. So you can see there the pay from all the employments. If I just click on the hyperlink on my tax computation, it will drill me down to the underlying data. I already had Toby Beavers as an employment for this particular client. And that appeared on the right-hand side of my DTA screen. So there it's brought across the additional information, company, XYZ and ABC. And again, if I did have many in there we go. It's also brought across the benefits and expenses, again, directly from HMRC. There's no manual data entry that I've or anyone has needed to have done. Obviously, you'll still need to check the information. I don't know whether and how much you trust HMRC, but the reviewing of the tax return is probably not going to go away. Okay, so time for question number 3 around what we've just seen. So thinking about the data that we have collected earlier, and obviously how you've then consumed that, can you see that speeding up the data entry of accounts and tax? And I've put a yes, a no, and a maybe as different options there. I'm kind of hoping that I'm going to get the answer that I want. Okay, again, just a few more seconds around that. Okay, just going to close the poll and let's share those results. Let's see what we've got. Vast majority, yes, which is hopefully what I would have expected. And happily, nobody doesn't see that as being able to speed up the data entry. Maybe 25%, that's quite an interesting one. Okay. So the next area to look at is secure document exchange and approval. So this will be the approval of the documents themselves. So one-click can be used as a method to send secure document and messages to and from your clients. Your clients can send you information as well. Any messages or documents you send can be done securely using Central and delivered to your clients via their version of one-click, the client's workspace that I mentioned right at the beginning. Whether it be a set of accounts, the tax return, your bill, or in fact anything that you wanted to deliver to them can be. So let's take a look. I'm going to use the tax return as an example of sending and then what your client would do at their end to send the information back or respond to it in some way, approval, whatever it happens to be. So again, I'm going to be in Central. I'm going to use the same client that we're in at the moment. I am going to, as I said, use the tax return. And just to bring it a bit more up to date, again, I am going to use the 2019 tax return in this case. At the top of the screen, you'll see that we have the option to produce what we call a tax return bundle. This enables you to build a template of items that you would normally want to send to your clients. It's a starting point of things that you would normally send your client with the tax return. You probably wouldn't, if you were to send it in the post, for example, you wouldn't just have a tax return delivered. You'd have a letter. You'd probably have, I don't know, you might have some backing schedules and the tax computation, but there'd be some context around what it is you're sending and why. What do they need to do with it at their end? Again, not going to go into too much detail. This is probably not the webinar to go into too much detail about the tax return bundle itself. Suffice to say, at the top of the screen there, you'll see that we do have a publish to one-click option. The same would happen in accounts production, the same would happen in corporation tax, and in fact, bills from practice management can be published directly to one-click, and obviously documents themselves. If you use document management, there'll be a button in there to simply send it to your client. So when we click publish to one click, it's going to look at that template that I've already pre-built. It's going to incorporate it into a single PDF that I'm going to be sending my clients. And it's asking for, just like an email really, a subject and a message. Now, I'm not going to sit here and type. You've already seen me not very good at typing and making a couple of spelling mistakes along the way. So I'm going to insert a template. We do supply some templates for you. You can edit them. You can go and create your own. So obviously it's personal to you as a practice. As a starting point, from this point, if I wanted to make any additional comments, obviously I can do. It's just free format text. Now, a couple of probably important things just to mention on here. Obviously, the system knows who this message is coming from. It's coming from myself. I'm logged into Central, and I've been granted access to one-click, but that may not be the case for everybody. You can pick and choose who you want to have the ability to send messages to your clients. You'll also notice in this case, it's already obviously pre-populated Mr. Jack Smith. I can't choose any other client for this particular type of message. And because I'm in Jack Smith's tax return, when I'm carrying out this action, it knows can't send the wrong tax return to the wrong Jack Smith. Now, because I'm sending the tax return, I want the system to require, or I want the client to approve or reject this particular document. So I'm going to tick the box. And at this point, actually, if I wanted to also include any other documents along with this message, I could do. It could be that as soon as I've done the tax return, I'm also going to send the bill to the client, or I might want to send a copy of the accounts to the client as well as the tax return. That's obviously completely up to me to decide that. In my case, I'm just going to click OK, and I am just going to click send. So what actually happens with the message? Well, a copy of the message will be retained under the message center within Central. If you already use our document management system, a copy of the attachment and the message will also be populated within the document center. And actually, as you can see, that tax return that I've just sent has been marked as being pending. So nice and easily, from one place, being obviously Central, you'll be able to see the approval status of all of the documents that you've sent. You won't need to go into each and every client. I happen to be in Jack Smith at the moment. There are reports that you can run and queries that we can do within the document database to say, give me a list of all of the documents that are still pending or all of the ones that have been rejected, whatever you need it for. And we'll come back to this because that will obviously update once my client has done something. Now, from a client's perspective, they obviously need to be alerted or told that there is something for them to do. So the system will automatically send an email to my client. So if I now log into, in this case, Jack Smith's Gmail account, he'll have a notification. You can change the wording of the emails that get sent out. Again, this is our standard wording in this case, but the email will also include a link. That's just a hyperlink to CCH one-click. Obviously, if they know what the URL is, if they know what the address is for one-click, they can go directly there. But clicking on this link will again take me to the same screen that we saw earlier on, asking for the email address and the password. This time it is my client now logging in. And just to kind of make a point around this, the email address must be the email address that you're holding for the client within Central. And the password is what your clients create as their own password. We can't get to it. You can't get to it. If your client happens to forget it, there is obviously a routine for them to go through, like most kind of portal login pages. If you forget your password, there'll be a routine for you to go through and recreate a brand new one. When your client logs in, they'll be given a dashboard similar to the one we saw earlier. There's less tiles that happen to be on this one. And your client can immediately see there's one unread message, there's two new documents in this case, because there's already one there. They click into messages and documents. We've got the documents relating to Jack Smith and the documents relating to Smith Electrical Limited. We've granted access, or I've granted access in my version of Central to Smith Electrical Limited because Jack is a director, and not only is he going to be interested in his own personal information, his own personal documents, but those of which he has an association within Central. So he's a director of, he's a partner of, he's a beneficiary of, whatever that combination of associations or relationships that you have within Central. If you have them already, you can then grant your clients additional access. One of the key things around that, though, is that Jack only needs to log in once using his own email address. Now we can see here, Jack can see in here, we've got 3 messages, 1 in red, 1 document to approve. If he clicks into the tile, there's the message that we've just sent. It's there in bold. He hasn't read it previously, obviously, and he's not replied to it. And obviously there's 1 attachment, as we can see. Now, before we kind of go any further in there, down at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, there is a little plus sign. So your clients, as I said, can actually start to send you information. They can start to communicate with you, whether it is just a message or whether they want to send you information. They can just go and add files, kind of like an email, but better and obviously more secure. Clicking into the message, obviously that's the wording that we use to send. You can see the attachment down at the bottom of the screen, Jack Smith Tax Return 2019.pdf. You'll see options down at the bottom of the screen. Jack could just reply to this. He doesn't have to do anything else with it. Just might have a few questions around the tax return. But hopefully we want to approve or reject. And he'd do that by ticking the box. But of course, you wouldn't want them to either approve or reject the document until they've at least downloaded and viewed it. So the tax return that I sent, the tax return bundle that the system created for me, is 24 pages long, in my case, for this particular client. There's the covering letter. You'll see it auto-populates directly from the tax return. So once you've built rules in your covering letter to say you want this paragraph under this circumstance, probably 90% of your covering letter is done. Obviously, you can still edit it to make it more personal to your clients. And the rest of the bundle, in my case, is going to be the tax return itself. I am, though, going to go to the very last page. Because when we're sending documents to your client and we are requesting that they approve or reject them, you can have a document activity report automatically attached. And this will be automatically updated both at your client's end, which is obviously where we are now, and at Central's end in document management or just one click itself to say, this is the current status of the document, and this is the activity on the document. At the moment, it's just been sent. It's actually now been viewed. So that will be a message that goes back into Central. When my client approves it or rejects it, that will also then be updated within this particular screen. So having looked at that particular tax return, we are going to be able to tick the box. We are going to be able to approve, and the client needs to put their password in again just to prove who they say they are. Hopefully I've got that one right. That will then update your client's version of one-click. There's the approval. At any point in time, the client can go and retrieve that particular document or any of the documents that we've sent. This little folder allows them to go into their correspondence file or the tax file or the accounts file, whatever it happens to be. So although I've only got the one document in here for the tax return that I've just sent, that could have obviously the last X number of tax returns that you might want to upload in bulk to the system. Now, once your client has approved it, obviously you need to have notification as well. So again, we can do that in a couple of different ways. One way is to get the system to automatically email you. So you'll get a notification in much the same way that we saw there for my particular client within his Gmail account. It will be, again, a very generic message. It will prompt you to go into Central to have a look at the message details. We obviously, for security reasons, don't say exactly what that document is all about. There is also a portal homepage available within Central, your inbox, effectively, which will allow you to see all the messages that have been sent to you. And as I said, the system will also then automatically update, in this case, the approval status of that particular document, which is in fact a hyperlink. And if I click on that, it will tell me exactly when that particular document was approved. If they have rejected it, they are forced to give a reason, and as you can see there, the reason will also come through to this particular screen. Now, there are going to be occasions, perhaps, where you might need to communicate with your client, or they have sent you something, you might need to read it, and you don't have access to Central itself. So how do we get around that? Well, again, within the one-click environment, in the advisor workspace, so I'm going to log in as myself again, as a practice user. One of the tiles that we have is messages and documents. And this gives you, if you like, the equivalent view from what your clients have just seen. So at the moment, I've only got 3 messages in there. But there's the tax return. There's an invoice that I previously sent to my clients automatically through practice management. And there's actually an incoming message from Smith Electrical Limited. I can go in and have a look at those messages. I can reply to them. I can go and create new messages for other clients that also have access to one click. So I don't actually need to have any kind of connection or be in Central itself. If you're just sending messages or replies to existing messages, one click is perfectly capable of doing that. Okay. Time for question number 4 now. Question number 4. So how do you currently send documents to your clients? And again, you can answer more than one if required. So standard email, since GDPR, more people are using encrypted email. You're already using a secure document exchange, whether it's ours, I guess, whether you're already using one click or old CCH portal, or whether you are still using the post, or obviously a combination. And there's bound to be a combination in there. Okay, again, just a few more seconds for this one. Okay, I think most of you have voted, so I'm going to close the poll and share the results. So what have we got? So 59% still use the post as one of their methods, let's say, of communication of documents to your clients, which is it's actually quite interesting, I guess. I find it interesting anyway. But actually, I guess what's more interesting in there is that people are still using standard unsecure email, especially with the advent of GDPR. I would have probably seen less people use that to send documents, regular emails perhaps, but if you're sending documents of a tax return or an accounts production nature, probably I'd expect encrypted email and the use of a document exchange facility probably to be more widely used. Okay, there's only one more question a little bit later on. But we're going to talk about making tax digital now. So it's probably, and I've left it till the end, probably one of the most relevant topics at the moment is the MTD for VAT. As you know, this starts in April, which is obviously only a few weeks away. And we at Wolters Kluwer have been busy building our solution ready to be used from day one. In fact, saying that, it's already been used by clients who joined our pilot and the HMRC pilot at the back end of last year. So what have we built? Well, refer to it as being bridging software, some kind of mechanism to communicate a spreadsheet of VAT numbers, obviously the 9 boxes on the VAT return, over to HMRC. Now, the beauty about this approach is that you don't need to change your processes for any client who currently already uses a spreadsheet to prepare their VAT return and wants to continue or has to continue using a spreadsheet to prepare their VAT return. Obviously, they can still use the likes of, and again, I'm going to mention them, Xero, QuickBooks, and the likes of Sage, the cloud version, or even the Sage Line 50 in the cloud, whatever they've called it, to get that information across. But if you do have any clients that need to export it out from those bookkeeping products for whatever reason, or they just manually create a spreadsheet, then again, this is exactly the type of solution that you'll need. So let's have a look to see how quick and easy that is. So actually, I don't need to be in Central whatsoever, so I'm just going to minimize that. I am going to log into one click in a moment or two, but actually I'm going to show you the VAT return that I am going to be processing. It's just a very simple spreadsheet in my case. You'll see we've got some tabs at the bottom to show the workings, receipts and payments, bank rec, fixed assets, but those numbers will come back to our summary screen, and you'll see there that we've got some formulas in there to pick up the information. Now, all you would need to do is slightly edit your client's spreadsheet, or the spreadsheet that you use to do this, by renaming the cells VAT B1, VAT B2, VAT B3, etc., etc. So again, on a per client basis, it's a one-time only operation that you would need to do. Now, if I do just log into one click, and again, I'm going to log in as myself. Click login. And again, this is part of the Making Tax Digital tile, so I'm going to go to there immediately. And in this case, I'm going to go to my VAT clients little option on the menu down the left-hand side. And this is going to show me all of the clients that are currently registered for VAT within the one-click environment. For that to happen, you basically populate one click with the VAT registration number. They will then appear on this list automatically for you. And the client that I'm going to use, if I can find him, is going to be Jack Rogers today. So into Jack Rogers, in this case, you'll see in this case, it does automatically go to the VAT submissions tab. So I simply tell the system that I want to add a return. This pick list will be populated automatically from HMRC. They obviously know which VAT return they're expecting. So there's nothing really that you need to do on this, apart from click upload, and then go and find your VAT spreadsheet. So we just open it up. The system will validate it to make sure that all of the boxes required have been properly tagged. And you can obviously see that in these two columns here. And obviously that the data is in a format that the system can understand. So again, apart from just kind of reviewing and making sure that everything is validated, nothing really that the user needs to do from this point, as long as obviously you've got a column of ticks over there on the right-hand side. Click OK. The spreadsheet then gets successfully uploaded. You could delete it at this point if there was a last minute adjustment that you needed to do. You can delete it, re-upload the new one. And to actually do the submission itself, we click into the row. Again, we can look at the boxes to make sure that very last minute we're okay with those, and then simply send to HMRC, agree to the declaration, and that's it, done. If we go back, you'll see now that it has been marked as being submitted. And we can now look at the digital VAT account. The system not only sends, but it allows you to retrieve information from the digital VAT account for your clients. So we can see here, obviously, the VAT amount, anything that's been outstanding, the due date. And in fact, it's probably worth me pointing out that the digital VAT account is populated for any client that's VAT registered that falls under the MTD regime, not just the ones that you've had to submit using an Excel spreadsheet. So if they are using Xero or QuickBooks or whatever it happens to be, then this row or this tab will automatically get populated. And that is pretty much it. That is the submission of the VAT return using a spreadsheet as the mechanism to do that. So it is now time for my final question. So I've put there approximately, but hopefully by now you should know exactly how many of your clients still effectively produce the VAT return using a spreadsheet rather than a bookkeeping or an accounting package. So select one of the following: under 20, 20 to 40, etc., etc. I'm not going to read everything that's on the screen. Okay, I'll just leave that for a few more seconds now. And I don't think anyone else is voting, so I'm going to close the poll and share the results. So quite an interesting split, I guess. I wasn't expecting to find that many above 80%. I guess 5% is probably around about where I thought it was going to be. Between 40 and 60, well, between 20 and 60%, I guess, is the majority there, isn't it? So again, quite interesting. Obviously not for today's webinar, you're all on mute, but it would be interesting to kind of have conversations with some of you guys to see what processes you intend to go through from April onwards for those clients. Okay, so what's next for you guys? Well, if you already use CCH Central, one click is available now. So you can subscribe to it, obviously contact your account manager. If you're not currently using CCH Central, it is kind of almost a prerequisite, but it is a prerequisite to use CCH one click for any of the bits of functionality that I've shown you today. So again, feel free to contact us for more information. Contact details will be shown on the screen in a moment or two. So throughout the webinar, a few of you have been submitting questions, so I'm just going to have a look at a few of those. So just bear with me a second or two. So one of them, what is the name of the digital information request app on the App Store? I think, let me just check actually. On the Play Store, it's just called Data Request, so you can go and search for that. At the moment, we don't have an app for it on the iPhone. As I said, there'll be a web app version, if you like, coming first, and I think the plan is to look at doing it for iOS after that. One of them, can we set up to send to our own document management? Well, I guess technically, development-wise, anything is possible, but it would need development kind of resource, either from you guys or from our side. I'm kind of bound to say this, it's probably not a route that we would recommend. You can obviously get it into your own document management system, but it would be, you need to save it from CCH one click onto your desktop and then upload it. If you wanted direct integration, there's obviously some development work in there. One of them, does the approval message only go to the person who sent the return? I can't see the end of that question at the moment. Or can it go to somewhere else? At the moment, it only goes back to the person that sent it. Now, I'll ask whether we've got any plans in there to make it kind of go to or get copied into someone else. We are working on a CC function at the moment. I'm not sure how that interacts with the approval message though. Will this webinar be available to watch again? Yes, we are recording it. I think it's going to be made available tomorrow. And then we've got one that always comes across. How is one-click priced and licensed? I can give you the basic details. So there is a base package to subscribe to, and that's £20 per month for the practice, and that gives you direct access to all your clients' digital tax accounts with the ability to commit those back into personal tax, as I showed earlier. So how shall I say this? So whether you have 100 clients or 1,000 clients, if you wanted to use that DTA, it would only cost you £20 per month for the whole of the practice. The other areas that I've shown you, open integration, documents and messages, they're priced according to how many of your clients you want to activate to use those facilities. And then the VAT filing is based on the number of clients either you or your clients want to submit via a spreadsheet. Actual numbers I probably can't give you today. We'd need obviously numbers of how many of your clients and how many spreadsheets, all that kind of stuff before we can give you a proper quote. But your account managers, if you are a client, your account managers will be able to give you for that. If we've got any more for MTD, is it operational now? So the MTD for the VAT, it is operational. So everyone's got the ability to kind of look at the screens that I've shown you today. Obviously, there's a routine that you would need to go through with HMRC to get your clients on board. Obviously, you don't need to actually do any kind of submissions really until after April, but technically, if you've already got one click, MTD for that is already in there. Okay, I think that's probably all the questions that I can see at the moment. If there are any others, we will answer those separately, or if you do have any questions, obviously once we've finished the webinar, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. So all that's left for me is to say thank you very much for joining me this morning. I hope you found it very useful. As I said, the recording will be made available to you tomorrow. Thank you and goodbye.